Dangerous flooding conditions being seen across southeastern Luzon, specifically in the Bicol region, as Tropical Storm Kristine, also known as Trauma internationally, nears landfall here in the Philippines. I'm meteorologist Robert Speta. Let's talk about the storm system, because here's the center of circulation, and one reason why we always say don't always pay attention to the center. You want to pay attention to the overall impacts and why context with these storm systems are important, because this is a big donut shape of a storm with shear pushing the bulk of the convection out here. And look at these images out of Naga cities. A very serious situation going on there, with some serious flooding taking place. Cars being washed away, homes being washed away, and hopefully there has been no deaths reported, but just based on these images, I am worried about the situation ongoing there. If you are being impacted by these floods, or you want to help anybody out, be sure to check out these phone numbers here. You got some links from the Naga City government out there in the Bicol region with some of the impacts taking place. But here's a low-level center right in here, and I know the forecast continues to take it out here across northern areas of Luzon, and that is still accurate. A lot of people are asking, well, I thought the storm was supposed to move offshore. It is, but it's all about the convection here. Persistent heavy rain from Samar extending down toward northern areas of Visayas, and yeah, even into Manila, you're going to be getting in on this precipitation as well. So this edges further and further off here towards the west with that landfall as we go ahead still into Wednesday night through Thursday morning, just around Aurora and into the Isabela area, crossing right over Isabela with that low-level center. But since this is that big donut shape of a storm system, we're going to have that convection wrapping it around, and basically a heavy rainfall even heading into Thursday night for the west coast around Subic over towards Manila, before things do finally taper off by Friday evening and into Saturday for the Philippines, before our storm system continues to track off here towards the west. So let's actually pull up some of our graphics here and kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at this time. There's a look at the forecast from Pagasa, just showing where that landfall is expected to be. This area here, though, that does indicate the extent of those tropical storm strength winds, and I'm not surprised whatsoever due to that interaction with our cold surge towards the north, expanding that wind field, with these areas in red indicating that high chance of winds at least 55 kilometers per hour or higher, which basically encompasses everywhere from Manila and the NCR, extending all the way back towards the Batanes Islands, and yeah, including a good portion of Luzon, with that onset of these winds already taking place here for the East Coast here on Tuesday night, but really picking up throughout the day on Wednesday the further north you go, including places like the Cagayan Valley over towards Baguio, and even extending out towards La Union, Pangasinan, over towards Subic, Ilocos Norte. All of you, Wednesday conditions will be going downhill. I like this graphic from Pagasa. Shout out to them for putting out this storm surge warning. This is something new with them, and I do like the fact that they are talking about that chance of storm surge. Now, it's a minimal to moderate risk. I think the rainfall is by far the bigger threat here, as we saw with those images out of Naga City. But still, low-lying coastal areas could be looking at that threat of surge as those winds push that water onshore, especially along the east and north coast of Luzon here, with those winds wrapping around the northern periphery of the consensus with that forecast, though, with that low-level center, still expects this to move off towards the west, likely landfall there into Isabela, crossing over the Cagayan Valley, right over Iligan, Cauayan. You're going to be seeing that low-level center, but the winds do extend well away from the center, so at least you're not getting kind of a core eye wall type setup. I think some of the higher winds might even be back towards the north across Apari, as that moisture or that wind flow wraps in out ahead of it, and even over towards Pangasinan, as you see a little bit of funneling between the mountains there on top of that. And then we take a look at the total rainfall. Still got those flooding rains out here as we shift throughout our day on Thursday. Of course, that's going to be off here towards the Sierra Madre Mountains, across Cagayan, and then extending back towards the west coast as that moisture wraps around the backside of this storm system. So key thing, evacuate if you are told to do so. We are seeing that out in Naga City, how serious it is and why you should take those evacuations seriously. Don't walk through flooded waters. Stay out of them. I know, gosh, guys, I always see it every storm. People say, well, it's more fun in the Philippines. I can go jump in the water, but we see these conditions get serious really quickly once these totals start to add up, which I still think is going to be the case here across Luzon as our storm tracks over Luzon here and extends back off towards the west, exiting just north of San Fernando into La Union. Backside of this impacting Pangasinan, and the extent of those tropical storm strength winds even into Thursday still going to be impacting the Manila and the NCR. By Thursday night into Friday morning, though, you can see vastly improving conditions across the Philippines as the moisture kind of pulls away drier filters in behind it. And by the weekend, we're going to be talking more about impacts into Hainan and over towards central areas of Vietnam, including around Da Nang, where this could be making landfall as a full-on typhoon. The GFS also consistent with that low-level center further towards the north, albeit the bulk of the convection still out towards the left side of this storm. That's kind of the dirty side in this particular case as we continue to monitor this storm system. All right, so winds are going to be watching. We're going to be watching this as it continues to track off towards the west. Another big thing with this is that donut shape of it. We'll look at the wind field extending out here on Wednesday. That's why I mentioned Wednesday. We're already seeing those gusts pick up. But even heading throughout the day on Thursday, all the way back towards Taiwan, down towards Palawan, western areas of Visayas, that inflow is going to continue to impact your area with still additional spotty possibilities of rainfall heading through Friday for the west coast of Visayas. So let's look at our flyover for Thursday as our tropical system passes over the Philippines, even down towards the south. We are still seeing that heavy rainfall at this time. Let's fly this back towards the north, though. Manila is still looking at heavy rainfall. The heaviest, though, yeah, whiteout conditions. I like this graphic. It really shows you this is what it's going to be like for a good portion of our area. Heavy downpours, persistent rainfall, and that threat of flooding even back here towards the north. Maybe not quite like we've seen in Naga City, where you had that persistent training effect causing some dangerous conditions, but still enough, especially into the mountains across Luzon, that could be adding up these rain totals to 200 to 300 millimeters overall as our storm system pulls over the island. All right, Friday, Saturday, at least things by then, by the weekend, we'll be able to take a deep breath, clean up after this storm. But my heart goes out to everybody who's been impacted already by this, even prior to landfall, for these areas down into the Bicol region have seen significant heavy flooding, rainfall. We're still looking at more precipitation in the forecast as this tracks overhead with that landfall once again here by Wednesday evening, overnight into Thursday morning. We're going to see the worst of the weather out here across the northern Philippines as our typhoon passes overhead. So didn't say typhoon, tropical storm at that time, and then eventually reemerges and becomes a typhoon as it heads further towards the west. And meanwhile, we are still watching another system out here towards our east. For now, keeping an eye on it, but I'm not going to jump too much onto it, only because let's concentrate at the storm at hand, friends. I'll have more information, and make sure you check out Western Pacific Weather on Facebook. We'll post other stuff there. But the key thing is those floodwaters can be dangerous. Make sure you're being smart with this storm system and staying safe. I'm not an official agency by any means. Pagasa is doing a fantastic job. I try to supplement their information with analysis and details to get more information and relay what they're saying out there to all of you. And I'm only able to do that by your support here on Patreon. A big thanks for everybody who continues to help out the channel. Plus, if you don't mind taking 1 second, hit that subscribe button. I know a lot of people don't hit the subscribe button anymore. We just listen to the algorithm, but it truly does help out my channel. And hopefully we get up to 100,000 subscribers so we can hit more people once this channel does get verified. All right, thanks for watching. And number one thing, of course, please, friends, stay safe out there.
Do you hate doing your taxes? Do you struggle figuring out what the law is and money management overseas?
I wish there was an easier way.
Well, FrontrunnerFinancial.com is your choice if this falls into your category. They're an international-based group of American accountants. They're based in Manila, and they're qualified to give you the best information where you are for those international finances. I wish I had these guys when I lived in Tokyo. Each year, it was a struggle. Where I needed to put money, what I needed to do. FrontrunnerFinancial.com. Be sure to check them out and let them know we sent them your way.